The interesting thing I think I found was like people will ask me, even to this day, knowing that, I had a background as a pastor, like, are you still a believer? And I have to very much clarify, what is that question actually, like, what are you really asking? Because that term can be thrown around very loosely. On one hand, I would say that I'm more of a believer now than I ever have been. And the experiential aspect of the God of the Bible that I had read about for so long feels more real now than it did before. But admittingly, it may not look like what could look like institutionalized Christian faith. And I put God in quotes because I think now science might call that term the quantum field. The Hindus might call that Brahman, the Taoists might call it Tao, and Christians might call it God. There's different terms. But in my understanding, I had an experience, a deeply embodied experience with God. And it kind of shifted everything for me because it's like, wow, I'd been studying God and I'd been representing God behind a pulpit for so many years. And this experience just shook me to the core. And I knew that I wasn't the first person on the planet to have an experience like this. So I started to study and I started to search for answers, both from a neuroscientific standpoint, like what is actually happening in my nervous system and my brain that had this experience, and simultaneously, are there other faith practices or indigenous cultures or anybody who can bring some narrative to what I had experienced? When I started to realize that there was a very common vernacular used amongst the mystics. And so what I started to realize, at least for me personally, that each of these angles was a different description of the same thing I was experiencing, this type of experience.